I'm really pleased to be talking with you about our bird's eye view, FasterCures' bird's eye view of the collaboration space. And I thought, in the spirit of a bird's eye view, that I wanted to show this image to really, I think it really is emblematic of the excitement that we have around this time in science. It's never been a more interesting time scientifically for us with the sequencing of the human genome and other breakthrough technologies. You know, we all are ready to take the plunge, but perhaps we're on the inside, this is how we're feeling. It's a high-risk enterprise. It's a long way to fall. There's certainly a lot of failure in R&D, but really in the spirit of collaboration, you know, we can do really tremendous things if we all come together. We can de-risk research, and we can really help to accelerate the development of new therapies. So over the next 25 minutes, I want to talk just a bit about our work at FasterCures and how we view the research and development ecosystem. Talk about how we see patients as being critical partners and catalysts for action in the research system. Then share a few innovative cross-sector collaborations, actually some that you might call hot off the presses from our Partnering for Cures event, which we just finished up at the end of last week, which brings together all different sectors of the medical research system to help facilitate greater collaboration. And then tee up a couple of things that we're doing to help promote more efficient and effective collaborations. So FasterCures, as I mentioned before, we're a nonprofit here in Washington, D.C. We're actually a center of the Milken Institute that's headquartered in Santa Monica, California. We were founded in 2003 by Michael Milken, and it was really we were founded after his personal journey through prostate cancer, but he realized through that journey that we're not operating at peak performance. The different sectors aren't working well together. It's taking far too long and costing too much to bring new therapies to patients. So he started our organization to take that on as our mission. So we're really looking at what are the levers of change that we can pull to drive more efficiency into the medical research system. And so this is what we call our yellow brick road to medical progress, and is a bit of a busy illustration, but puts all of our programmatic work into one place, organized around our four strategic goals. So just to start with the upper right hand, one of our key goals is really to involve patients in the research process, have them more engaged in clinical trials, optimize the use of their patient data through electronic medical records, biobanks, et cetera. We're involved in policy discussions here in Washington related to appropriations for the FDA, NIH, and really trying to elevate medical research on the nation's priority list. We have a program that looks at access to capital, more strategic allocation of capital throughout the R&D process, so we can make sure that financing is getting to where it's most needed, particularly in this translational valley of death. And then finally, collaboration is our most significant program. And we want to help foster more and stimulate more cross-sector collaboration. Again, we see this as being absolutely critical to helping to build more efficiency into the medical research system. So with that as a background, this is how we see the medical research system. So we talk about an ecosystem. It's probably more accurate to say we have an eco-silos, if you will, and the incentives haven't been there to necessarily help to spur collaboration. I think we're at that tipping point though, where there's a recognition that the model's broken. We saw that the R&D productivity graph, that we need to think differently. Leadership, like Chris Wiebacher, folks are helping to stimulate this change. So we want to really break down these silos and increase the crosstalk between the different players. So no one can do it alone. This is how the system should be working. We're all puzzle pieces in the medical research system. It takes everyone from the patients, academics, investors, philanthropists, and we need to be working in a very coordinated way. We work across all these different sectors and across all these different diseases. So I'll jump into our work with patient groups because this has really been the core of where we've seen collaboration really starting is with medical research foundations and venture philanthropy groups, if you will. So this is just a quick snapshot of, if we're looking at the overall funding pie for medical research, philanthropy dollars are only about 2% of this overall pie, but they can really have an outsized impact because of the different attributes that these medical research foundations and patient groups can bring to the table. So it's not just their dollars, but it's the way they can partner with others. So one of our programs is our TRAIN network, which stands for the Research Acceleration and Innovation Network, and is a loose affinity network of really innovative nonprofit groups and venture philanthropies. Now, some people take a really narrow definition of venture philanthropy where it's a nonprofit exclusively funding a for-profit. We take a bit of a broader view where these patient groups are focused exclusively on cures. Many of them have been founded by folks who were very successful in the business world. They've been touched by a disease and they're applying those business practices to the nonprofit space. And they're very collaborative, and they're changing the way that research is being done in the medical research space. So here are just 4 different attributes I wanted to talk about as they relate to some of these venture philanthropy groups. So first, they're funding novel, high-risk research. So these organizations, they recognize that it's their obligation, and it's the highest and best use of their dollars to fund really early stage, high risk research to help fill that gap between where the NIH and government may be able to fund and where venture capital and industry is willing to pick it up. And we're seeing that investment getting later and later stage. So they recognize that this is where their dollars can have a big impact, and it's non-dilutive capital, so it's very attractive for early stage biotechnology companies. They also bring strong scientific expertise. So these groups have many PhDs on site. They have very experienced scientific advisory boards. They've seen applications for grants hundreds year over year. So they have a really good sense of where the science is, where it's going, where the opportunities are for them to be investing, and also what are some of those platforms or the technologies that any one industry wouldn't necessarily invest in individually. So things like biomarkers or animal models or other types of platforms. Thirdly, they're trusted by and have access to patients. So these organizations, some of them have patient services, so they're very well connected to the needs of their patient community. They've organized patients into patient registries. Some of them have developed clinical trials networks, so they can quickly enroll patients into a trial once it's started, which is very attractive for an industry perspective. And finally, they can bridge disciplines, institutions, and ideas. So through their funding, they're bringing together different academic consortia. They can also open up dialogues with federal agencies, with the FDA, and have conversations that industry may not be able to have. So in thinking about when we look at the medical research system, these venture philanthropy groups and medical research foundations are really critical players to the system in changing the way we do R&D, and are extremely critical collaborators. So this is just a quick success story, and those who are in the medical research space probably know this very well, but the partnership between the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and Vertex earlier this year approved Kalydeco, which is a drug that treats, it's only 4% of CF patients, but it has absolutely remarkable results, and it really is the culmination of a 13-year partnership between the CF Foundation and Vertex. And so the CF Foundation, again, they brought funding, they brought patients, they brought their clinical trials network, and it was really applauded by the FDA as the new way that we need to be thinking about drug development. So that's just a quick success story there. We have we have developed an online platform we call our Train Central Station, and it has an overview of all these different kinds of venture philanthropy groups. We've collected tools that they've used to partner with industry, so things like a due diligence checklist, the sample contracts of how they come together with industry, academic consortia. So we really wanted to start to build this toolkit, if you will, of tools that can help them find partners, negotiate, develop agreements with them, as well as manage their relationships going forward. So it might be an interesting resource for you to take a look at. So I next want to move into some different cross-sector collaborations that we're seeing at FasterCures. Some of them include patient groups, some of them don't, but we're really in this sort of moving forward, we need to be thinking more expansively about innovative collaborations. So I want to just take a minute to talk about our Partnering for Cures event that just wrapped up last week, because I think it's a great platform for showcasing collaboration and really building a platform for collaboration. So it's a conference that we started 4 years ago. It brings together 900 individuals across all the different sectors. So all those different puzzle pieces that we showed earlier, they are all represented at this conference. And it offers an opportunity to talk about some of these horizontal issues that are impacting the efficiency of the medical research system around data sharing and intellectual property and financing, secrets to success of new types of collaboration. And it really focuses into it's very solutions focused, so we're thinking about how can we come together in new ways to overcome a lot of these challenges. And finally, we want to cultivate new cross-sector collaborations that will ultimately lead to commercialization and help to take promising science through the entire R&D pipeline and get therapies out to patients, because essentially that's why we're all here in the first place. And so just a couple of highlights. As I mentioned, we had 900 speakers, a number of different panels, really talking about these cross-cutting issues. It's also built on a partnering platform. So if you've been to other partnering conferences or investor conferences, there's a whole database system that helps folks find one another, request meetings. It then facilitates the scheduling the meeting. So it's a really easy way to do a lot of really structured one-on-one networking. It's been kind of the gold standard with industry and in biotech and the VCs, but we're now moving it into this environment where patients are involved, academics are involved, and so we're creating this platform for folks to come together in new ways and really start to explore new types of collaborations. And the one thing I do want to really highlight here is one of the features of the Partnering for Cures event is our innovator presentations. This year we had 30 presentations, and we put out a call for applications over the summer, and to even apply to present, you have to be a cross-sector collaboration. So we really want to tease out what are the new ways that organizations are coming together to tackle some of these issues in medical research. And we did our call around these 5 areas, because as we've been tracking these issues, we've seen that there's we're seeing new kinds of collaborations around these areas: asset repurposing, data sharing, innovative financing models, novel research tools, and translation of early stage discoveries. And so we put a call out. We've had probably 75 applications, and we have a review committee that selects the most innovative or ones that could be scaled or replicated across the system. And I just wanted to highlight here that we've actually seen data sharing and translation of early stage discoveries. Even though we saw that all of these 5 areas were really ripe for cross-sector collaboration, this is where we saw the most applications coming back in to present. So I want to take you through a couple through each of these categories some sample collaborations that we saw last week, and all of these are actually on our Partnering for Cures website. So there's a lot of data that we're going to be mining here and would be available for others. But in the terms of asset repurposing, here's an interesting one between the Michael J. Fox Foundation and Sanofi, actually. So Sanofi had a compound that was going to be, that they were discontinuing research on, but it would be applicable in the Parkinson's space. They had reached out to the Michael J. Fox Foundation to see if there was interest there. After they took a look at it, they agreed that there was interest. So the Fox Foundation is actually moving forward with a phase 1B trial. They are the sponsor for the trial, and Sanofi is providing the data and the asset. And obviously, further development plans will be dependent upon the outcome of this trial. But we thought this was really interesting, that it's a patient group is very central to this type of collaboration, but it's not a patient group giving money to a small biotech. There's a big pharma company that's actually looking to partner with these groups. So I thought this was really interesting to highlight. In terms of data sharing, there's lots of data sharing initiatives. This one was particularly interesting for us. This organization, Coden, which is a Silicon Valley organization, they're helping to build a new data infrastructure. It's open access, open source for all the different pharma companies. So they're connecting patent databases and gene databases and protein databases and PubMed articles. And with their technology, they can find what are some of the green fields or opportunities for freedom to operate. So it's an opportunity to really accelerate that due diligence process, reduce redundancy and duplication, and they're saying that this is their technology allows this sort of due diligence 100 to 500 times faster than if you were mining all of these databases individually. So this is another, I think, great example of how industry is coming together in a whole new way, and we're also seeing some new players who are seeing that there's a business case for getting involved in collaboration here. Innovative financing models. So this isn't necessarily the extreme of innovation. It's a prize model, but we thought this was pretty interesting. The Rare Genomics Institute and WashU had a competition where the prize would be 99 exome sequences. And so they put this out to patient groups, rare disease organizations to sort of make their case for diseases that it would be very relevant for exome sequencing to be done as part of their research. And so they had 60 applicants, they selected 4 winners, and these exome sequencing was put up in-kind resources by Agilent Technologies. So this was just an interesting prize model. And the RARE project, which is a consortium of rare disease patient groups, was very involved in the marketing of this. So a lot of different players coming together from disease organizations, industry, academia, et cetera. Novel research tools. So a lot of patient groups are involved in this space. They're building biobanks, they're building clinical trials networks, patient registries. We thought this one was pretty interesting, the Lawrence Livermore National Lab and IBM coming together to build this model, this heart model. So it's using this supercomputing platform, and so this allows an in silico model for testing new compounds and their impacts on heart, so we can have some signals as to arrhythmias early on. And this is an example of a collaboration that could be replicated across different organ systems. Translation of early stage discoveries. Nonprofits, patient groups, and academics are certainly becoming much more involved in this space. So DART Therapeutics is a biotech, you might say it's a product design or product development company. It's funded by 2 patient groups. So Charlie's Fund and Nash Avery are putting the money up, and they're really looking at early stage technologies that they can invest in. They're taking compounds on to repurpose. They're investing, again, in early stage assets. They're investing in biomarkers that others wouldn't take on, and they're focused on Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. So this is an interesting collaboration we've been following for a couple of years now. And we thought that the New York Genome Center was an interesting one as well. We're looking at all the different academic groups that are coming together in New York, and the Genome Center really providing this large-scale sequencing, translational research, bioinformatics, and it's all the academics that are coming together. It's your NYU, Weill Cornell, Stony Brook, Rockefeller, et cetera, Hospital for Special Surgery. And there's different tiers of access to the technologies there. And also the city is getting involved. So their Economic Development Council and their investment fund are putting up money for this effort. So as we're looking at all these different types of collaborations, I think we're seeing that the patients are still very central to, they're critical to collaboration, but we're seeing new types of and models for collaboration. We're seeing larger scale collaboration across industry and academia where we haven't necessarily seen that before, and really true partnerships, not just you know, kind of calling funders partners, but we're seeing a lot more being brought to the table on all sides of these types of collaborations. So I just want to just quickly touch on a couple of things that we're doing to help provide more efficient and effective collaborations. One thing is a piece that we just published in November called the Principles for Responsible Unlocking Intellectual Property Principles for Responsible Negotiation. Now, we developed this, it's really kind of a short document, but we wanted to put together some resource material for individuals that found that they were just hitting up against IP issues as they were trying to collaborate. And as we've looked at all of our Partnering for Cures, we actually audit all of our panel sessions, and IP came up was the issue that was raised the most for the last 3 years, and we said, okay, we really need to do something about this. And so we held a workshop, and we brought a number of different sectors together from the universities, from NIH, from industry, patient groups, and we really kind of hashed out what are some guiding principles that we could put forward, because we're seeing this issue, and it's not necessarily from biotech and pharma that are trying to collaborate, but when we're crossing those sectors, there's this disconnect between how we look at intellectual property. And so the principles, they really aren't rocket science, but they do help to provide some guidance about how you would prepare for negotiations. What are some of the terms that you might be looking for? How do you manage those relationships going forward? So there's that's available on our Train Central Station website as well. And then I just wanted to highlight some work that we're doing actually in partnership with Sanofi. Is we're going to take, out of all these different collaborations that we've seen, we're doing a deep dive into a number of them to really develop some case studies that could be really helpful for others to learn how these collaborations are successful. What were their challenges? How did they overcome those challenges? So we can help to other collaborations to learn from those who have gone before. We're calling this our collaboration playbook. But in addition to the case studies, we're also looking at what are some of those horizontal issues that people get stuck on. So we talked about intellectual property. We've started to do some work there, but things like antitrust, governance, how do you, perhaps even cultural issues, different communication strategies. And so we want to help to put that guidance out there for folks who are trying to come together in new ways, to give them a little bit of a roadmap or a playbook, if you will, as to how they can be really effective in this space. So that's really what I wanted to share with you today, our view of collaboration, how we see patients as being absolutely essential to this process, some of the latest and greatest collaborations, crossing sectors that we're seeing at FasterCures, and also some tools we're trying to put together to help collaboration going forward. So I think we're taking questions now, but I wanted to share my contact information if anyone has questions later, and then this is just some ways to connect with FasterCures. We're across all the platforms, so hope the conversation doesn't stop here.